All right, what's going on, guys? Vince Dao here, back with another video slash podcast. This will also be a podcast, so if you want to listen to it on iTunes and Spotify, you can go do that. Link is in the description, whatever. And if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, then what's up? Good to see you. Anyways, so I hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas. I took the day off for the podcast then, but we are back. And we're back not so much on a great note because we got to talk about this absolute disaster. And I mean disaster of a stimulus bill. So obviously, earlier this week, Congress said they finally worked out a stimulus bill. And you would think, right, after so many months of literally just waiting until after the election to get it done, you'd think maybe it'd be a pretty good, no, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. And Trump, basically what he did was he signed it, but he signed it with red lines, which basically says to Congress, hey, I'm going to sign this, but you guys need to go back and fix this. I'm not sure if that's the best idea because it doesn't really give you any leverage, but whatever. We'll just see what happens with that. The main thing I feel like is the biggest takeaway of this whole fiasco is that the GOP establishment in Congress clearly has their priorities all backwards, okay? Because we have this war, obviously, over the $600 stimulus check versus the $2,000 stimulus check. Trump wants $2,000. The Democrats also want $2,000. Now, we got to go through this bill a little bit because, the Senate GOP basically said, well, we can only afford to give the American people $600 because fiscal conservatism. We got to save money. The government's going broke as a result of all this stimulus. And that's true. The government is definitely going broke as a result of this stimulus. And I respect the position that says, hey, we don't really have the money for this, okay? I would respect the Senate GOP saying that if they actually meant it, okay? When they say fiscal conservatism, they clearly don't mean fiscal conservatism. Because if you look at this bill, you go through this bill, it's full of pork. Okay, it's full of pork. And the thing is, a lot of that pork isn't even for the American people or anything related to America. You have so much nonsense in this bill, just billions of dollars being sent to foreign countries. I think it was either $400 or $700 million that's being sent to Sudan because, it's a COVID relief bill for Americans. We got to help Americans here, right? You have, this is the one that everyone is sort of making a meme out of, $10 million for gender programs in Pakistan. $10 million. And the dog just came in the room. What's up, dog? How you doing? But $10 million for gender programs in Pakistan. Right, because fiscal conservatism, guys. Okay, right? The government's here to save money. So we can only afford $600 for you. Because fiscal, that's what pisses me off about the Senate GOP and all this. They said to you, guys, we can only afford to give the American people $600. But we can afford plenty to send a bunch of nonsense money and pork to foreign nations for whatever the hell, okay? That's the problem here. All right, another one. We sent millions of dollars to Zimbabwe. This is the completely ironic part about it. Millions of dollars to Zimbabwe to help them have more free and fair open elections. Okay, we literally sent them programs to improve their political democracy. Right, of course. Because obviously, America is the master of free and fair elections. America knows how to do elections with transparency, folks. We really ought to show the third world how it's done. Yeah, okay. So you have these billions of dollars of crap, nonsense being sent to foreign countries. Now, the Senate GOP was fine with that. But when it comes to giving you, the American people, more money, and by the way, I would argue in a way, in sort of a fiscally conservative way, because it just gives people their own taxpayer dollars back. It doesn't set up some type of government program or anything. It just literally gives the government money, taxpayer money, our money back to us, okay? When it came to that, the Senate Republicans said, no, we don't have the money for that. See, it's not about fiscal conservatism with them. It's only about priorities, okay? It's priorities. Because if they really meant what they were saying about fiscal conservatism, then they wouldn't be sending billions of dollars to foreign nations for no reason, okay? And then maybe I would respect it, okay? Then maybe I would respect it. I still think you have to get something to the people, because obviously, the best solution, obviously, I'm not denying this. The best solution is to just open the country, okay? The government can't just stimulate and try to pay its way out of this. You have to open the economy in order to truly recover. No one is, well, a lot of liberals are denying that, but no conservative is denying that. That's common sense. But considering that the federal government does not have a lot of control over these states and their lockdowns, the best the federal government can do is just try to get the people through it. Like, you have to have some compassion, because you can't just tell people to find a job when you have these local and state governments not allowing people to find jobs. So you have to give the people something. Now the question becomes, how much do you give the people, right? And it's a completely fair argument to say that the government is running out of money, because it is. Our debt is skyrocketing. Something needs to be done about it, right? And look, I get that. But first of all, if you were really about fiscal conservatism, first of all, you wouldn't even sign on to this bill to begin with, okay, because it's just too expensive. But you wouldn't be sending billions of dollars to, you tell me the government's running out of money, and then you send billions of dollars to foreign nations. I'm sorry, establishment GOP, but I'm not buying that, and I'm pretty sure most of your voters aren't buying that crap, okay? It's simply about priorities. It's not that you care about savings. This is what I hate, when Republicans claim to care about the debt, claim to care about fiscal conservatism, when they just don't. They just don't, okay? This bill is full of nonsense, okay? So it's not about fiscal conservatism. It's simply that they prioritize all this other random crap over giving the American people more money, okay? And props to Trump, working class Donald over here, for actually saying, hey, look, if you have all this crap to send to Sudan and Pakistan for freaking gender studies, and if you have this money to send to Zimbabwe to tell them how to do elections, because clearly we're the expert on that, clearly you have enough money to get the American people either a $1,200 check or a $2,000 check. I don't know, something, okay? Something more than what you're giving them. That's what it is. So when it comes to actually giving money to you, the establishment GOP basically said, no, we don't have the money. But when it comes to sending money to freaking Pakistan, right, the country, the terrorist government that literally sheltered Osama bin Laden for 10 years, time frame like that, right? Suddenly, it's oh, okay, we have the money for that. Think about that. The establishment GOP, the Senate Republicans, and the Democrats, I'm not exonerating the Democrats here, but at least the Democrats said, they didn't make this fiscal conservatism argument. At least the Democrats are saying, sure, we're fine with sending $2,000 to you, right? The establishment Senate GOP basically said that they prioritize more sending money to the gender programs of a terrorist government that sheltered Osama bin Laden over you. Okay, and that's just ridiculous. The GOP has to get it right, okay? They have to figure out some type of messaging that makes sense, because, you know, the people aren't buying this crap anymore. Don't be surprised after this debacle. I mean, we're already struggling anyway, but don't be surprised if we get wiped out in the Georgia runoffs after this nonsense, which I'm not hoping happens, okay? I think you need to vote for this in the Georgia runoffs, and I'll make a whole podcast right before it explaining why this is why you should actually vote in it and not sit it out like a lot of people are telling you to. But I'm just being realistic. When you pull this nonsense, it makes, and you know, Warnock and Ossoff were actually saying, we're going to give you $2,000. You pull this nonsense, it just doesn't bode well for you, okay? Republicans need to figure out a message that they're actually genuine on. Because the fiscal conservatism thing, we want to save money, we want to fix the debt, it's utter nonsense, okay? They don't want to save money, they don't want to fix the debt, and we've known that. Everyone's basically figured it out, which, okay, something needs to be done about it, but if you're not going to do it, figure out some type of other message that makes sense. But don't pull this nonsense where you tell us, we can't give you a higher stimulus check because of fiscal conservatism, but we can send billions to other nations because no fiscal conservatism, okay? We always accuse the Democrats of being America last, but right now, it is the establishment GOP that tried to send this crap hole of a bill to the president's desk. That is who's acting in the name of America last right now, okay? That is America last policy, and no one should stand for it. Props to Trump. His strategy is a little, I don't know if his strategy is going to work, but props to Trump for at least trying to fight for a higher stimulus check, because what the GOP tried to pull on us here was complete and utter nonsense, okay? If you're going to claim that you're fiscally conservative, then don't insult the people while doing it, okay? Either actually act fiscally conservative and say, look, we don't have enough money for you, but we also don't have enough money to send to Pakistan to fund to a terrorist government, or say that we're going to give you the freaking money. Because I get it. The government is short on money. I mean, they don't seem to understand that. They don't seem to think that. I think the debt should be balanced. I think the government needs to cut down on his budget. But if you're, at the same time, if I were in Congress, if I'm going to send, knowing, okay, let's just be realistic. Okay, this stimulus bill is happening. It's going to be expensive. If I was a Republican in Congress, I would say, okay, well, if this bill is happening, then I sure as hell am going to, whatever amount of money it is, 900 billion, whatever, I sure as hell am going to make sure that money goes to the American people, not to Pakistan. This is ridiculous. Okay? And what's funny about all of that is once this atrocity, this absolute insult of a bill was sent to President Trump's desk, people were putting extreme, and Trump at first was basically trying to pocket veto it, saying, nope, you got to fix this bill before I sign it. There were so many people out there saying, no, you have to sign it now. President Trump is delaying your aid. He's delaying your relief, which is just really ironic, considering the fact that Nancy Pelosi pretty clearly just intentionally delayed this thing for months just before the election, just to make sure it didn't get out before the election, right? And then, so we had a months-long delay, and then President Trump says, hey, let's stop a few days just to fix this bill up a little bit. Suddenly now they're like, no, there's no time to spare. Like come on. The Congress procrastinated on this thing for several months, and then suddenly the president gets pressured basically into signing this bill like within days. It's just ridiculous. This whole debacle was just a disgrace to our country. Okay? And my main takeaway, I would say, I'm not surprised that the Democrats wanted to send billions of dollars to other nations. That's just expected. I'm not surprised that the Democrats wanted to, but at least they were consistent. They weren't here claiming fiscal conservatism. They were like, no, let's give people $2,000 checks too. And President Trump's got it right. Trump's got it right. You know, he's the one saying, cut this crap to the other countries, cut this random pork, and give more money to the people. Every Republican should get on board with that message because it's common sense, okay? But for Republicans to sit here and tell me, guys, fiscal conservatism, okay, we're going to save money here, and then have all this other nonsense in the bill, it's an insult, okay? It's just an insult to Republican voters. It's an insult to the American people. And going into a really important Senate runoff in January, it is not a winning message. Let me just warn you that right now. It is not a winning message. Now, Loeffler and Perdue are sort of tippy-toeing around whether or not they would support $2,000 checks. I don't know exactly. I know a lot of Republican voters in Georgia are more like traditionalists, and you know they're more sort of old school conservative, and that's fine. So they actually sort of respect the idea of fiscal conservatism, unlike sort of like the more populist base in the Midwest. I get that. But I think even most of them are out here like, no, if you're going to throw all this other nonsense in the bill, then give me back my money, okay? That should be the Republican message going forward here. So obviously today we have the House basically voted to raise the stimulus checks to $2,000. Now the Senate is going to figure out what they're going to do about it. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens in the Senate. I'm pretty sure, you know, Republicans will just go along with it because Trump is basically pushing for it, and Republicans don't really want to go against Trump. But, you know, Trump's not always going to be there to tell the Republicans what the hell to do. And if we keep going forward with this idiotic messaging where we're like, we care about fiscal conservatism when it comes to the American people, but we don't care about fiscal conservatism when it comes to sending a bunch of nonsense to other countries, we are going to lose. It is not a winning message, okay? I mean, if you really want to make a thing out of first of all, I don't think fiscal conservatism, don't get me wrong, I think we need it, but I don't feel like Republicans ever even fight for it, and if Republicans are not going to actually do it, then run on something else. Run on something else, and that's fine. And we'll figure out the freaking debt later, okay? But stop pretending like you care, like, for God's sakes. But this message going forward is just not going to be a winning message, okay? It is not popular with the working class, who we all basically have this consensus that we are trying to become a new working class party. It just needs to stop, okay? And props to Trump for having good instinct on this, because I guarantee you the American people are for it. I think most people are against sending nonsense to Pakistan, but they're also for actually getting more money, okay? And the idea that after all people have been through with these shutdowns, the idea that $600 is remotely anything, to quote Nancy Pelosi, that's crumbs. Okay, that's crumbs. So get it together, Republicans. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, that'll do it here for this video / podcast. The dog came into my room again. What's up, Doge? Make sure you check out my merch shop. By the way, I'm trying to get to DC on January 6th. I'm gonna try to make it, okay? And so if you want to help support my trip, because all this traveling is getting a little bit expensive, you can either donate to me directly, but if you want something in return, you can go check out my merch shop, teespring.com/stores/Vince-Dao. Just cop something, all right? It's nice. Like, I'm wearing this right now. This is my merch ain't trash, okay? It's not complete trash. So go check it out. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll post some videos probably this week, and of course we have the podcast returning on Thursday. And until next time, remember, alpha moves only, and the Republican Party needs to get their S word together. Okay, see you next time. Peace.
Snowing on the East Coast, crackheads on the West Coast. Democrats hate it, but I show up in my best coat. Getting hot in the net, gotta bring my best roast. This a Crump and Dow show, you know we the best host. Vince out in Palm Beach, Mar-a-Lago down the street. Cold out there, I brought the heat. Blue hair stay whiny, crying like a baby. No, your college ain't free, but I'll pay you a bit to decorate my tree.